Shit.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show tonight, first off. Really appreciate it, man.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Yeah, psyched to have you, man. Hey, I was going to ask you, so you did the Halloween 2018 novelization,
Right.
which, just read this week myself and really enjoyed it a lot. It was great. How does something like that come to be? Like, how does one end up writing the novelization for this huge movie that so many people have been waiting for and comes out? Did they reach out to you, or how'd that whole thing come to be?
I had been working with Titan Books for the supernatural novels, tie-in novels, and I did a grim novel for them. And the editor contacted me and said she thought I'd be perfect for Halloween. And since they're over in England, I got this email. It was like 5 a.m, so I picked up my phone when I woke up and I saw this there, and it was just like this great present to wake up to. I'd love to do it.
Love those emails, man. Sometimes you get those emails and then you almost you get spoiled in a way. You start to look for good emails like that coming in. The days you don't get them, you start to get pissed off. It's like, hey,
I always get those emails that are saying, hey, you owe this much to the IRS. And I'm like, what? I thought I was caught up. I thought I was caught up.
I love the Myers mask in the background, man. Where'd that come from?
The Mars mask or
the Myers mask, the Michael Myers mask.
Yeah, I ordered that when I got as soon as I got the job, I was like Halloweening up everything. I got the Funko Pop, I got T-shirts, and I just saw that on it was advertised. I can't remember the name of the store, but it was by the guy who designed the mask at the store, and I met him when I did a signing at Dark Delicacies. But the last Halloween before the pandemic, I actually had the overalls and put on the mask and had the fake, prop knife, and went out in front of our house, and I was freaking out all the neighborhood kids. I stand under a tree. So it was fun doing that. My wife said I really got down the Michael Myers movement.
So would you
robotic, standing there and very still and then moving deliberately.
So does that help you with the writing process, to surround yourself with like something like that to kind of get the creative juices flowing a little bit?
I think by the time I got the mask, I was already done with the book.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So I watched the original movie before I even got the script. I knew the script was coming, and I hadn't watched it in a while. My wife watches it every year for Halloween. So I see parts of it, each year, but I had never sat down to watch one of these rewatches start to finish until then. So I wanted to get right into the mode of Michael Myers and Laurie. And they told me that the movie would not use any of the sequels. So that made my work a lot easier because I didn't have to go and watch all of the sequels to trying to get up to speed on it where everything had gone. So it was just taking that first movie as a jumping off point. So, but I do have all these things around when I work on Supernatural. I've got stuff, I've got the model of the car, and I got things on my desk to get in the mood. So.
Oh, that's a huge thing too, man. Supernaturals, that's right up there with Halloween as far as the today's audience goes. Everybody loves that stuff. I know my wife does too. I did see where you in the thank you section in the opener of the book, you actually thanked your wife, whose favorite horror movie was Halloween. So I bet she was super jacked up when she heard that you got that.
Yeah, I actually, when I got the email, I couldn't wait to tell her because I know she loves that movie, and I thought, you're not going to believe this.
Was there?
It kind of fell out of the sky because I didn't even know they were making the movie at that point, or I may have heard it vaguely. I wrote it like 3 years ago, so it's hard to remember the exact timing of when news leaked out about it. But I know once I got the job, I wasn't allowed to tell anyone for the longest time, and they told me, "Oh, you'll be able to tell them by the time Comic-Con rolls around." So I'm waiting for Comic-Con, and I was writing it in April and May, and Comic-Con I think was July.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, I'd wait till July before I can tell anybody. And then that came around, and I still couldn't tell anybody. So I was like dying inside, dying to tell people what I was working on.
So would you say that they're pretty strict on their rules in regards to that, like the novelization of the screenplay?
Yeah, this was my first movie novelization. I had done a bunch of original tie-in novels, going back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel. I did the 4 Supernaturals. I actually wrote my last Supernatural the same year as the Halloween book. And I did one of the grim novel for Titan also. And they're always original stories based on the show, and they're set during a particular season or during a certain time in the show.
Mm-hmm.
With Buffy and Angel, they had certain periods where the next few novels will take place during this period. But Supernatural, they always told me I could take it as far forward into the continuity as possible. So I would be, watch an episode and I'd set mine after that episode. But of course, by the time the book comes out, it's a year later. So it feels like time. But while I'm writing it, it's very close. And with Halloween, it was the first time I've actually had to do an adaptation of a script. So you got a script that's like 117 pages long, and you need to turn that into a 350-page novel.
Yeah.
So it was my first time doing that. So I was really excited about, finally getting to do one of those.
Yeah. Well, it's a hard thing to do. I have to imagine to take something that's already there. And I imagine that, and we can talk about that as well. You're not allowed to like branch out or go further into it, but you have to add your own spin to it. And just from reading the book, I can tell you, man, it's fascinating reading it, the color that you add to it. I've seen the movie, 20 friggin' times, but reading the book, I'm actually gleaning some new stuff. So some new senses, someone else's take from it. One of the coolest things that I thought you did that I wanted to ask you about was, and I don't know if by the way, did you read any of the other Halloween movie novelizations before you did this?
No, I wanted to read the original one, but it's so hard to find that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do find it, it's very costly.
Yeah.
You usually have to meet a man like a back alley, like he gives you like a paper sack or something.
And you can
clandestine. Yeah.
Yeah. That can be found on the internet, by the way. You don't have to pay so much to get it there. If you ever want to know, let me know. I can get it to you. But they, because we did the same thing. We had to read it. We didn't actually have the novel. We had to read it online. But one of the coolest things I thought was, and the original book did this as well, which I thought was really neat. You got to, even though you had to follow the plot line of the movie a lot, you had to do exactly what the script said, I'm sure, you got to talk from the POV of Michael Myers a little bit. And he wasn't like talking to himself, but in the text would go to italicized, or however you say that. It would go to that, and you would be like, okay, this is from Michael's point of view. And there would be
present tense too.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And one of the most fascinating things in the book is when you're like, he would breathe, he would squeeze his knife, he would let go. It was all impulse, no actual thought. There were so many different things that you layered into that. When you did that, was there any pushback on that whatsoever? Did they say, hey, you can't say that Michael's feeling this way or thinking this way? Did they try to like squeeze that down at all? Or did they just let you go with it?
No, they let me go with it.
That's awesome.
I told my editor my thought process was that he's always in the moment. So that's why I changed the tense, because I just wanted him to be very visceral, very now, and just reacting to what he sees and what he does, and not go beyond that, not have a grand plan. And that seemed to work well with the script too. So she thought that was a good idea, so we stuck with it. And at that time, I didn't know if the studio would be okay with that, but apparently they were fine with it. So we let it roll that way.
That's awesome. It was cool, man. It was one of my favorite parts of the book.
Thanks.
So when you're adapting the screenplay, though, what's one of the first things that, as a novelist, that you focus on? Is it the, obviously all of these are important, but what would be the number one thing that you maybe focus on? The character, the tone, the atmosphere, the setting. Is there any specific thing like that you look at first that you want to like develop and flesh out before you get started on the other stuff surrounding it?
Well, what I did was, as I said, I watched the movie again for the first time, start to finish, that I hadn't watched in a while. And that's in the back of my mind. So I get the script, and I'm picturing the script being in a similar vein, similar style. And when the movie came out, and it was kind of like it was a really weird psychic experience for me watching the movie, because there was the version of the movie in the script, version of the movie in my book, and then the version of the movie that was the final cut. And it was like three different stories told three different ways. So when I was watching the movie in the theater, I was having this kind of reaction of being like almost like a split personality, like that wasn't the book, or they added this that wasn't in the revised script and it's new, or they cut something that was put in and taken out. So I'm kind of like seeing three movies at the same time when I'm watching.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah.
So when I was writing it, my favorite thing to do is write suspense. It goes back to all my books. So I focus on suspense, and horror provides a lot of reasons to have suspense. So when I wrote the book, I was emphasizing the suspensive scenes, or trying to. So I don't know how well I succeeded, but that was my goal. Watching the movie, the movie was more edited like a thriller.
Yeah.
So that was even kind of a difference to me because, the one thing my wife loves about the original movie is that it kind of lingers on the suspenseful aspects and draws them out till it becomes unbearable.
Mhm.
And the movie was cut like a much faster pace.
Mhm.
So I didn't know if it's kind of a reflection of like modern audience tastes, like the shorter attention spans for movies and ever since MTV, quick
Right.
movie cuts. So in my mind, I'm kind of building the movie the way I might have built it in the book, if you know what I mean. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
envision the movie and what helped was it helped in terms of the visuals. But after I'd already started writing it, I got access to the uh, picture archive, so on-set photos, so I could
Wow.
see what the uniforms of the police look like, what people were wearing, how the actors and actresses look in their roles, because they might not look like how they look on their IMDb photo.
Yeah.
Right.
Or made up differently, or have different hair color or different hairstyle.
Mhm.
So it gave me the visuals of all the actors and actresses in this role. And when I'm writing it, I'm picturing like the movie I would cut, but with their visuals. So
Okay.
once I had that, that's kind of how I'm writing it. So I'm going for heavier suspense, probably more gore than the script had in it and the movie as well.
So it's like using the script as like storyboard, and
Right.
then you're okay. I get you. Okay, that's pretty.
So
I
the
like
things
that.
I would do is I extended scenes, I added some new scenes. Uh, they had revisions while I was writing it. They
Hmm.
did a reshoot after test screening,
Hmm.
and I was writing it sequentially. So most
Oh,
of the revisions, the reshoots, were for the end of the movie. So I had read how it was originally going to end, which was kind of a lot more open ended.
hmm.
But by the time I got to write those sections, I had gotten the revised pages. So I
Yeah.
was adjusting to that too.
Is that pretty frustrating overall when they do that?
It wasn't too bad since I hadn't actually written that section.
Hmm.
But for instance, I didn't get access to that picture archive until after I was into the book. So one of the things that was really different was when the podcasters meet Michael Myers on that courtyard.
Hmm.
The description in the script really didn't tell you what it looked like. So I had this whole different
Oh,
thing with trees and paths and different.
right.
And
Yeah.
then I see this the picture archive after I've already written that. It's like it's just like a checkerboard pattern. There's nothing. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
empty. And there's not that much description in the script to tell you that. So I was
Oh,
just picturing in my head what this looked like. I thought it'd be like peaceful, tranquil area to keep the patients calm, and it was completely different. So
that makes sense.
I had to
Yeah.
go back and change the whole scene and move people around from where they were in my original scene.
Yeah. The
So that
checkerboard
was a
might not have
challenge.
been the best option because I don't know if it's going to inspire tranquil as
No,
much as what you're seeing would. Yeah. So,
right. It was very, very stark. So, I mean, there were some of the challenges that when I started, I didn't have the visuals. I didn't know what the prison bus looked like originally.
oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm looking up pictures of prison buses online and trying to picture what this is going to look like and how
Jeez.
they're chained to the floor. So it really helped having those pictures. And I'm trying to remember, it was like 3 years ago, but I think there was something like 35,000 photos.
Wow.
And
Okay.
Jesus.
they weren't in order and they
Oh, no.
weren't tagged. So you might have that prison scene. I thought they had no pictures, and I get like 20,000 deep, and I say, okay, here's the pictures from that
Oh,
the
it was buried
courtyard.
under the other 20,000. Like, I
And that
should
was
have
part of the
seen.
reason. Like I thought, okay, there weren't no pictures. I'll just make up what I think it'll
Yeah.
look like. And then 20,000 photos later, I start seeing pictures of that scene because it's not in order.
That's
So
wild. Well, you mentioned the bus, and that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about too, because in the movie, um, they do a weird thing. So the bus scene happens off screen. Basically, Michael Myers'
right.
escape happens off screen. There was some speculation that a lot of people thought, hey, maybe it wasn't actually Sartain like it seems like it was who did this, but maybe Laurie before the dinner scene had gone and done this, trying to break him loose. The
Yeah.
book, I think, puts that to bed. Because if you read the book, you can see Laurie being surprised that he's been let out in her like inner monologue or whatever. So I
Right.
thought that was interesting. It also put to bed the fact that Aaron, the podcaster, some people thought he was alive, but in the book they finally say, hey, he almost made it, but he eventually was a dead body. So I thought that was interesting. That the book kind of answered two of the questions some of the people who watched the movie had. Is the podcaster actually dead, and did Laurie do this? And I think it answered both those questions. But one thing while it added to the scene of the bus about what actually happened, there's a scene, an inner monologue almost for Sartain, where he wakes up in the hospital and he's starting to remember all the stuff that happened, and he kind of has a little panic attack and he has to calm himself down, right? Because he's remembering seeing the bus driver have his throat slit and start to turn the wheel endlessly, and that whole thing. I'm taking the long way around, but what I'm kind of getting into is, when you wrote that, in your mind, did Sartain cause that bus to crash? Did he help Michael make that happen when you were writing it, at least?
Well, that's part of the reshoot, because initially it was a lot more vague, because I think they wanted it to be a big twist at the end. But then I think with the test screenings, it was so vague that people felt cheated, like, he didn't do that. So in the reshoots, aside from the ending changing, they put in some flashbacks, like memory flashbacks of him in the hospital, and they put in more flashbacks of Laurie's daughter growing up, like what her childhood was like. And then when I see the final film, it's like the stuff they put back in, they then cut back out. The Sartain stuff, they kind of trimmed it back. So I think they thought they were giving away too much after not giving enough, and then took out some again.
Gotcha. Well, was there actual scenes of Sartain helping him?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's
okay.
That was going to be the twist, that he wasn't going to be like the original Doctor, who was on Laurie's side. The twist was going to be that he helped Michael. And I mean, I didn't see the test screening. I didn't talk, but judging upon what the revised pages looked like, it seemed like they felt like they hadn't, I don't want to say earned it, but they didn't drop enough breadcrumbs for people to say, oh, he must have helped him. So I can't remember now how much they left in versus how much they took out of those reshoot pages. Yeah. So that's one of the things I was trying to get at earlier when I said seeing the movie was kind of strange for me, because I had read the original script, and then I had read the revised pages, and what was in the movie is kind of a combination of that, plus some scenes that weren't in either script or the reshoot pages. And for instance, the dance had more scenes in the script than ended up in the movie.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely more prevalent in your book. There's like a whole extra chapter of the dance scenes.
Yeah, I kind of got the impression that part of the editing process, and again, this is me speculating, I don't know firsthand, but it almost seemed like they tried to build up Laurie's role by removing some Allison scenes. So the percentage shifts to Laurie because you have less of Allison. If that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. Especially
I think they wanted to play up the Laurie versus Michael, so they kind of tamped down on the Allison stuff a bit, like the jogging part was in the script.
Mm-hmm. And that made the deleted scene, that
the dogs that's hung in the tree.
Yeah.
So that stuff was in there, and I think initially I thought it was supposed to be like a changing of the guard. Mm-hmm. Like Laurie was handing her role over to Allison. Allison would be the new Laurie in any future movies. So I kind of had the feeling writing it that, okay, they're saying, okay, this is the passing of the torch. But I think they backed off that a bit in the movie and made it more Laurie versus Michael. And even the second poster has them, face to face, literally, on the movie poster. The original poster just has Michael's face on it, and that's what they used for my novelization.
Do you feel that Dr. Sartain could have had a bigger impact in the film if they had done a certain, because watching the film is totally different from the novelization, and I feel like they were going to go, like you mentioned, a certain way with that character, and they ultimately wind up not doing that. Do you feel like that character could have been more impactful had they gone a different route? Did you enjoy writing that character, or do you just feel like it was just not executed in a way that probably should have been or could have been executed?
Yeah, because it was a point of contention for fans. The Sartain
a lot of fans,
so many people off. It was crazy.
Yeah, I got the feeling people didn't like that at all.
Yeah, that one specific
that
scene
might be
anyway,
why they cut some of the scenes.
Yeah,
because I guess they didn't want to just recreate Donald Pleasance 2 the movie. They wanted to have something different, and that was their twist. Passing of the torch, have Sartain not be on her side, be against her. So I didn't really have an opinion one way or the other. I know in the original script, it was a lot more ambiguous. After I read it, I emailed my editor. I said, "Are you sure this is the final script?" Because I said, it doesn't seem like I almost felt like I was missing a couple pages because I had been told or expected that this was it, this was it, this was the end.
Okay.
And when it ended, it was, I don't know if it's in the deleted scenes or not, with Michael just sitting in that area where Laurie has the mannequins for shooting practice.
It was
And he
not in a
just
deleted scene. So a lot of people want to see it, but they haven't.
he's just breathing heavily. And it's like, well, is he going to eventually die, or is he eventually going to stand up and be fine?
Yeah. I'm gonna get my breath and get a
Yeah,
brisk
like
iced tea.
I
And
need
I'll
my
be
second or third win.
yeah, right.
Then
Yeah.
I'll be ready to go again. But yeah, I just thought I'm missing something. This doesn't feel like it's the end. Like, is there another page or two?
Mhm.
So I contacted her and make sure that this was actually the final script. And she checked and said, yep, that's the final script. So I started working, and then I was probably a week or two into it. And then I heard they were doing reshoots. And I thought I might get a whole new script, but instead I just got the revised pages.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, so in that ending, and there's been a lot of talk about. I was going to ask you about that as well with the reshoots, the original ending versus what ended up happening. It was still even a little bit different. And what happens in your book, a lot of the stuff in your book follows so closely to the movie and like matches up so perfectly. And the most stuff that does not actually match up, I felt like came in the ending. In your book, she's got a handgun. In the movie, she's got a rifle, little things like that. And then with the ending, when he falls down the steps and he's laying there, in the book, they go ahead and they light it on fire, and he's still laying down with one leg up, and they light the whole thing on fire and walk away from it. In the movie, he's already up in the the bars and holding on and looking them face first. I really loved, by the way, how in your book you explained what he was feeling when he was doing that. How when he was trying to break through the bars, his skin was burning. He could feel pain. Not that he could feel pain, but he was just focused on the mission no matter what. Is there anything else from the original ending that you remember that happened? So I guess they had their fight and she knocks him off the roof, right? Or he knocks her off the roof and then she's gone. But at the end of that battle, they end up outside and then he's just sitting against a tree. Is that kind of what it was?
Yeah, something like that. Like I said, I have multiple versions of the movie/book in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one part where she has to knock him down the steps, and she should have a gun. And in the script, it's like they forgot about the gun. So I
that's
felt
true,
like
yeah.
I needed to account for what happened to the gun. Why is she looking for something to hit him with when she has a gun to shoot him?
Right.
So the gun kind of got lost in the script, and I thought, well, something they're going to fix in post-production or whatever, reshoot.
Like a George Lucas digital gun or something. Like added
like even when
Yeah.
when Allison closes the closet door and it bounces off his shoe, that's not in the script. The door is
Okay.
closed,
Yeah. So,
or it's partly open. But little things like that change. I thought something like that's going to happen with the gun. But I think in the original script, there's a scene with a crossbow out in the front lawn, and everything's taking place in the front lawn, and that was all changed because the cage and the house being this prison for him, none of that was in the original script.
oh wow. Okay.
So they added all that back, and in those ending pages where they show her checking all the cage doors to be able to lock him in there, to make it a more active plan rather than a passive plan to just attack him, to be luring him into this trap. So that was a big change with the script too.
So the original was more like a knockdown, drag them out kind of fight to the end.
And
then they added
all hands on deck.
All hands on deck. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you have one you preferred more?
I think either one would have worked, but I felt like that original ending just felt like it wasn't an ending. I felt like we needed something else. So, I mean, there's a thing in movies that they want the actors to be active and not passive. So I think by changing it to a trap, it makes the whole thing a little more active for Laurie. That she's not just, this crazy woman living back in the woods. She actually had a plan to have Michael trapped and destroy him there. So I think that works better than what they had originally.
Yeah, she home aloned it. She made sure she home aloned it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I know it was 3 years ago, but while you were writing it, was there anything like about the screenplay or while writing it that you really enjoyed? Was there a, like a, exploring the Michael Myers mythos, or was there a character that you really got drawn to that you're like, man, I would really like to spend more time here? Or was there anything specific that you remember that you really enjoyed more so than anything else?
Well, one of the strange experiences for me, since this was my first movie novelization, is that once I saw the pictures of the actors playing the parts, it was a new experience for me because I was writing the scenes where they're being killed, and I found that once I could see their pictures in these scenes, it kind of made it more real for me. Like I got more emotionally attached because it wasn't just a theoretical character in my head.
Right.
It was actually this person. Like I could picture this person dying, like in the bathroom scene, in the restroom. So things like that, I was surprised that it upset me as much as it did. Because as a horror writer, I'm used to killing off characters all the time, but usually they're characters that I've created in my head and they only live in my head. And when I kill them, it's more abstract. But when I'm seeing these pictures of these actors, and I didn't see a film version of it before writing it. Just seeing the stills was enough for that connection, the emotional connection to the character.
That makes sense. Well, also, I mean, this movie's different than most slashers. Even though slashers aren't as prevalent as they used to be, it used to be the characters that were getting killed off were characters you hated and were annoying anyways. What they did that was interesting, I thought, with Halloween 2018 was you liked them. Some of the characters were likable, and the movie actually, when it came out, they were more likable than they were in the script of the book. Dave, for instance, one thing I wanted to ask you about Dave's death. It happens off screen in the movie. In the movie, you don't actually see him die, and he's a real likable guy. The one that got the tattoo and everything. You just see.
That upset me. I wanted to see his death.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Well, that's
spoken like a true horror novelist. I like it.
We wanted to see it too.
If you're gonna die for the cause, you need to get.
There you go.
Right?
Exactly. Don't make me die in vain. But you're when in the book, and just so you guys don't know if you haven't read it, in the book, it's written very well, and they show the death. The death happens in your book, which I imagined it was in the original script too.
In the script, you just see the end with him up on the wall,
same as the movie.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So they allowed you to actually write that scene.
Well, I knew I needed, when you're writing a 350-page novel from a 117-page script, and if you look at the script pages, they are very sparse. Some dialogue. There's not a lot of text there. So I knew I'd have to add scenes. And for me, as a horror writer, that felt like an obvious scene to add. I mean, I wanted to see Dave go down.
I love it, man. I love it.
I like the character, but I thought, well, I'm missing an opportunity here. This is a perfect scene to add.
Yeah.
And in the scene when Michael's going through the town and slaughtering people, I dove in there too and made that a lot more graphic than it is.
You did, so, yeah. You answered my question actually, because my question was going to be like, was that in the script before at all, or did you add that in? And obviously you just answered, you added it in yourself. And the Dave death scene was really, really well written, man. That was good. I could picture it happen in my mind. It was a painful death scene that he went through, and you actually painted the picture from us seeing Michael about to kill Dave to seeing Dave's dead body. You painted a really wicked picture in between there, and I appreciate it, as well as the Hammer death scene on the tracking shot when he goes and she's making the sandwiches. That scene was painted really well in the book, man. I really felt for her in a way I didn't when I watched the movie.
Yeah, that was a very visceral scene. I wanted to get into that from her point of view too.
Yeah.
And man, I was going to ask you, like, that actually goes to my next question. Have you ever wrote something that like really just scared the shit out of you? Like, you're like, I cannot believe, oh my God. And like, you have to like, I know that, someone like Stephen King has actually said before that he's wrote scenes or things like that where he has to have a nightlight or has to look under the bed and things like that while writing this film. Did you ever like, man, I really am going really far here. Like, have you ever thought about like in the back of your mind, I don't know if this is going to, be passed or they're going to allow this or anything like that?
I wasn't too worried because I knew it's going to pass the gatekeepers. So if I did something that they didn't want, it's easy enough to cut it out.
Right.
But I wanted to take things a little bit farther than they were in the script.
And God bless you, sir. And God bless you for that.
I hadn't seen the movie, so I thought, well, maybe they're going to show more on screen than they're showing on the page. But I just wanted to jump in with both feet.
That's it. Okay, yeah.
And do all that. But There are times where characters kind of their voices kind of take over,
Hmm.
and I think, where did that come from?
Yeah.
But that kind of didn't go where I think it was going to go. The character kind of took over, and I was doing one of my original novels was kind of a haunting ghost murder mystery
Hmm.
mashup, and while I was writing that, there were things that happened in the house that were freaking me out.
Mm.
Like an oven vent turned on by itself. I was in my bedroom, and I think my family had gone away, maybe to the shore for the weekend or something.
Uh-huh.
And I'm in the bedroom, and the hall light turned off by itself.
I'm moving out.
So yeah, there were like little weird
Yeah.
things happening while I'm writing this thing about ghosts and hauntings. So there have been
Gosh.
times where like reality kind of creeps into the fiction or vice versa, and it kind
Yeah.
of freaks me out a little bit.
It's like a pile of clothes on a chair while you're sleeping, and you look over and it looks like the devil himself is staring at you. You're like, oh my God. I need
Hey.
to, yeah.
Moonlit shadow back there.
Yeah, we were reviewing The Exorcist once, or watching all the Exorcist movies. We did this thing called Man vs. Movie. We're watching all the movies of a franchise in one sitting, and we're watching it, and we're making jokes about Pazazu, the demon, Captain Howdy from Exorcist. And I swear to God, these fucking Oreos came flying out of my cabinet and just like landed on the floor.
Double stuffed.
Scared the shit out of us, man. It really did. And I don't even believe in that stuff. Scared us, but. Is there anything, like, if you could pick one thing, like the most standout thing in the original script that you read when you were doing this book, that didn't make the screen in the end, what would that be? What would that one thing be that really just never crossed over?
In this script, I think, like I said, most of the stuff that was cut was a lot of the Allison stuff and Cameron. Like we never really see what happens to Cameron.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that I remember disappearing. There wasn't anything like earth shaking, or I thought, why'd they cut that out? That was great.
Mhm.
But I thought they did a lot of these little excisions just to build up the Laurie side of it. So I didn't know if I haven't watched the deleted scenes from the Blu-ray, so I don't know how much of that people get to see, or if it's canon. And whoever wrote the book for the second movie,
Mhm.
I was wondering, like, do they take into account the first novel, or they just look at the screen?
That's a good question.
Because I put stuff in, like I took Michael's burning at the end a lot farther than the movie did,
Yeah.
because at the time I didn't know there was going to be a trilogy. I thought
Mhm.
this is it.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
I wanted to give the fans who read the book a little bit more of a definitive ending. So Michael's mask is like fusing to his flesh, to becoming a part of him.
Oh,
His
shit.
skin's burning. So I really wanted to step a few steps over the line into finality. So
That's
what happens
disgusting, and I love it.
so
That's
when
awesome.
the second
Man.
book comes out, I just wonder, they have to back off that, just ignore what I did, and just pick up whatever the movie is going to do
Yeah.
with him. I don't know if he gets out immediately or if he suffers any damage, because I haven't seen it or know anything secret about what's happening with
Yeah.
it.
That was a bummer. I was hoping to see your name on the Halloween, because no disrespect at all to the guy who's going to end up writing it, of course, but yeah, I was hoping to see your name on it, and when I didn't, I was like, was that just the thing? Was that you, or they just didn't contact you back about it, or?
Yeah, I heard they wanted a new writer. Now, I thought the book was well received.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I had no problems with it. It was all approved. I was excited. In my mind, I envisioned, once I knew there was going to be a trilogy, I was imagining doing all three books.
Mhm.
And I was pretty psyched to do that. And I was really disappointed that they decided to go with the second person for the second book. I don't know if they'll do a third person for the third book. Maybe they'll come back to me for the third book. I don't know.
Well,
Was there?
I don't
Was there?
think.
Oh no, go ahead.
Sorry, all I was going to say was, I don't think. Well, first off, the book was definitely well received. Everybody I know loved it. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Nice.
The only thing I could maybe think that the reason that they would do that is, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that no one's ever written two Halloween novelizations, and where
That could
they're
be.
pretty knee deep in like the lore of this whole thing. Maybe they just wanted to keep with that tradition. I don't know, but that's the only thing I could think when I saw that it wasn't you. But you did a hell of a job with this one, man.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Awesome. What I was gonna say, what I was gonna ask was, while playing around in Michael Myers' world, and you got familiar with it by going back and watching the original Halloween, and then adapting the screenplay and writing this novel. If you were to continue in this world of Michael Myers after your initial novel, Is there like what are some of the things that you would like to expand on, or maybe go in a direction that they might not have thought of? Like if they were like, hey, you have free license, go and do whatever you want. Michael's alive. Yeah, at this point, his mask is sealed to his fate, or his face forever, but you can do whatever you want. What would you like to do if you could do one thing or a couple of things? What would you like to do in that world?
Well, I don't know if I have a wish list per se, but as long as Laurie's alive, Michael's alive, and they gotta come together. There's gotta be.
Right. So you want to explore that relationship more, I guess, and dive deeper into that.
Yeah, because I thought maybe Laurie was going to die, but that would be
Mhm.
definitive. Because I don't know if Jamie Lee Curtis wanted to keep doing this beyond, the 2018 movie.
Right.
So I thought if she definitively dies, which I'm assuming she does not, for the whole
Right.
movies, maybe she
Yeah.
dies at the end of the second one. I don't know. Halloween kills.
Yeah.
But I thought if that happens, then you're going to have that passing of the torch, and then
Mhm.
Michael versus Allison would be the natural thing to do with that.
Right.
So, like I said, when I finished it, I thought that was the end. I
Mhm.
wasn't aware they were going to do, because the movie wasn't out. I think I was hired to do this either late March, early April, and it was due by the end of May.
Okay.
So I had about a little over a month. I think by the time I got the script, it might have been the first week of April.
Okay.
I finished the whole book.
Yeah, you had to move quick.
Right. So there wasn't a lot of time to mull over like things I would add and change and about
Right.
that script, because in my head I'm thinking I have to write what is their word count? 80,000 words, I think, is the goal.
Jeez Louise, I couldn't write 8,000, let alone 80,000.
80,000 word novel in about 45 days.
Yikes.
My God, sir. Give this man a race.
So I set myself a daily page goal, and if you take a day off, then the next day you have to do twice as many pages.
Oh, there you
2
go.
days off,
I mean,
you got to do 3 times as many pages.
a lot of self-discipline for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, with these books, even with the supernatural books, 60 days is a luxury. So
yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what's the one thing that you like notice as the difference, since this was your first adaptation of a screenplay into a novel versus doing Supernatural or Buffy the Vampire Slayer as they were TV shows. What was the number one difference that you can think of related, as far as the differences between doing those two different kind of novelizations?
Well, the biggest thing for me is all the tie-ins I've done have been original novels.
Original novel. Okay,
So
yeah.
I have to come up with the pitch.
Right.
And they usually want several pitches, and then they'll pick one or two and say do whatever one you want, or they'll pick one out of the 4, and then you have to do an outline, and then the outline has to get approved. It's usually like a 7 page outline, single spaced, and I would usually do about double that
Mm-hmm.
and cut it back. So I'd have the longer version for me. I get them the 7 page version, and I either get notes on that or I get approval on that, and then I go down the rabbit hole and write the novel. So
Okay.
the nice thing about that is that I have this detailed outline, so I'm not going to have writer's block. I might be tired,
Right.
I might not be in the mood to write, but I'm not going to not know what happens next. Because when I write my own novels, I'm not as disciplined about outlining. So
Okay.
I'll write myself into a corner and not know where I'm going to go. With these, they're on such a tight deadline. You have the outline. There's no writer's block. And the nice thing about the movie novelization is that you have the best outline of all. You've got this 117-page script.
Right. So you have right. You have the
I don't need
bones.
to worry about writer's block for that either. The story's all there. So it takes away the burden of coming up with the story yourself. You're using their characters, but creating a story. Here you've got the characters and you've got the story. So I might have added some minor characters that aren't in the movie. I expand on scenes. I create some new scenes. I kill Dave in more detail than they just show the end result.
Right.
So it was a difference that way, because the story's right there for you. And it got easier when I got that 35,000 picture archive, because now.
Oh yeah, that yeah.
Now I know what people are wearing. I know what they look like. I can picture everyone in my head. I can picture what the bedroom looks like, what the house looks like.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier than trying to just imagine it from the script, because they don't give a lot of details in the script.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Be
That
like,
makes a lot
you
of
know,
sense.
middle-aged woman, 35.
That could be anybody. It's like, oh my god.
Hey, I gotta tell you, man, it's shocking to me because originally when we started coming up with questions for this interview, and by the way, if you don't mind too, we'll take a couple questions from the chat. So if you guys in the chat, if you're cool with that, want to go ahead and start throwing your questions in there, we can throw out a couple of those. But I gotta tell you, man, one of my first question before I realized that you were working off the script based on your website was, so did you got to watch the movie first, right, and then you did it? And the only reason I thought that is because like 5-10 chapters in, I was like, to me, this shit's dead on. I mean, like it was. I'm shocked. I'm shocked, literally, that you only had the script to work off, much less the pictures, because
It's called talent, sir.
I know I don't have any. But when I'm watching the movie. Like I said, I've seen the movie 20 times, and I'm reading the book. I mean, it reads exactly the same as the movie does. So the fact that you hadn't seen the movie yet and you're nailing this stuff, it's really impressive to me. I don't know. That's not even a question. I'm just impressed, sir.
Yeah. I finished the book. I finished the book before the end of May, and I didn't see the movie until October.
Didn't even see the trailer by then, because I think the trailer's it's June, right? So
It was June. You know, it was
saw
like
no
mid to
action
late June
footage whatsoever. That's
Yeah,
nuts.
that's not always the case. I know some writers who've done movie novelizations where they've actually gotten flown out and see an early version of the movie,
Mhm.
and they take notes. I belong
Oh
to
man,
a
that's
group-
cheating though. Like you
I
had to
belong
go.
to-
You had to go in, man, straight on. You're like, hey, man, I didn't get to see the movie first. I had to go in. Like all my imagination is focused in on this. By the way, I was going to ask you really quick before we get to the chat questions. The novelizations that you've worked on, Supernatural, Buffy, and Angel. Out of those three, and I know this may be putting you on the spot, but I'm just going to ask, which one out of those three is your favorite to work on?
My favorite novelization probably is Supernatural Night Terror,
Supernatural.
the first one I did,
Mhm.
because I hadn't written one in a while, and I think it'd been a while since I even wrote one of my own books, and I just remember being so incredibly happy writing that, and because of the type of supernatural villain I had in that,
Yeah.
the doors were just off. I could do anything I wanted. You know, I had Nazi zombies, giant spiders. I had everything I could do.
You
in
had
that.
everything, yeah.
I was having a blast. So
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's cool stuff. Yeah.
and I regret that Grimm was canceled because I liked doing that, and I would have
Oh, yeah,
more
Grim.
of
Yeah.
those.
I swear I thought you were gonna say Buffy.
Well, Buffy is kind of, I have a fondness for Buffy because I remember when that show first started, watching it with my wife. I had to convince her to watch it because we had seen the movie and weren't real thrilled about the movie.
Oh,
I said,
okay.
no, I heard this is good. I heard this is good. So we watched it. And just like opening the door and getting to do that was really special. And everybody knew who Buffy was. So
Right.
Back then I'd be doing a lot of book signings at mall bookstores, which don't exist anymore.
That's
And
true.
of course, Buffy opens the door because everybody knows Buffy or has heard of Buffy. So it's easier to start conversations with people. So I do have a fondness for that book I did as well. I wanted to do more Buffys. I ended up doing 2 Angels,
Right.
just the one Buffy. And part of it was timing because the shows were canceled, at certain points. But Supernatural, I really got to do a lot of those. And
Have you watched all the seasons or
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All live. I've been watching it since day one.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
15 years.
Jeez, there's a lot to go off of there, man. And going from the chat, Joshua Parker asked, and I'm kind of paraphrasing this a little bit, but he said, did the book get a good reaction? So like, and I'd like to know about that too. When you release a book like this and it comes out, and if I'm not mistaken, the book came out like right after the movie, like within a week or something like that.
I think it was a week. I think it was like the following Friday because I probably didn't want to spoil the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And because I remember going to Barnes and Noble and be like, "Hey, where's this book?" And they're like, "Oh, it's in the back. We'll go get you one." And I, grabbed one. But what is it like, writing this book and then you're waiting for the reaction? I know, like, directors and stuff, they're waiting for Variety for the review and stuff like that. But when you write this book, where does your reaction come from? And what was that day like for you, waiting to see what people thought?
Well, the only reactions I really get are when like bloggers review it, like Bloody Disgusting and different things like that. And like I said, most of the reviews were, really good. I thought it was well received. So I'm used to seeing things like that. Now with Halloween, it was kind of an order of magnitude larger in terms of people's awareness of it, because movies are just, more in the public consciousness than TV shows. Because I meet a lot of people who never watched Buffy, but they heard of it.
Yeah.
They thought Angel was touched by an angel.
I was going to
Angels
say,
in the
yeah.
outfield.
Just going from Buffy to Angel, there was a drop off in awareness, like people who knew Buffy but had never heard of Angel.
Right.
But with
Yeah,
Halloween,
that'd be me. Yeah, I would be like, didn't they make a movie of Buffy? Like, I didn't know. There's a
yeah, well,
series.
with Halloween, everybody knows Halloween. It's
Right.
been around so long, and there've been so many movies, so it kind of like opens the doors all by itself.
That makes sense. Our buddy Mike White Jr. wants to know if you could write for any movie or TV show. What's one movie or TV show you'd love to do an adaptation for?
Things like I was a Star Trek, the original series fan, going back to when I was a kid. I mean, I grew up with the show, and I kind of understood the stories at deeper levels the older I got. Like when I was a young kid, I just, liked the action. And then as you get older, you kind of understand the stories, and then you kind of understand the social parallels. So I kind of grew up with that, and I always wanted to do like a Star Trek novelization. Movies I'd love to do would be like an alien.
Oh
novelization.
man.
And I see some of my writer friends get those jobs to do Alien. I think, oh man, I'm so jealous. I would love to do that.
John, I'm not gonna lie. When you've been leaning back sometime in your chair, I've noticed like your shirt, and I thought that was a Star Trek red shirted, like like the guy that always thought. I was like, why are you wearing that? That's great though. I love it. But then I noticed it wasn't.
Well, I was wearing a black shirt when I tested the connection.
Yeah.
And I found like I disappeared in the background. My head looked like a floating ghost head. So I just grabbed something with some.
Were you a fan of the Next Generation? Did you like the Next Generation with Picard? Did you like that one at all?
I liked Next Generation seasons 3 through 5.
That's that's Locutus when the Borg came in, I think.
Yeah,
I'm getting really nerdy here.
3 and 4, 4, 5, I don't remember. But I thought it got off to a slow start. Like if it got off to that kind of start today, I think it would have been canceled.
Oh yeah, it would have been.
A while
Yeah,
to grow into
absolutely.
itself. And then the last few years I wasn't as thrilled with. But the season 3 through 5, they're the ones I bought on Blu-ray.
I'm just gonna write in my book about 25 points of extra coolness because of the Star Trek thing. Like that's cool, man. I love it.
I'm a big genre fan, all different kinds of genre. And if there's a genre show coming on TV, I'm there, day one checking it out to see if it's something I want to watch. I was just watching Jupiter's Legacy with my son before this.
Oh, was it good?
The first
Was it
episode.
good?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched Invincible together.
Oh man, there you go.
We just binged Invincible with a guy from Pretty Much It. It's another YouTube channel. We sat down in one day and we watched all 8 episodes and did commentaries for it. Had no idea what Invincible was at all, right? So we sat down. Yeah, and then the end of the first episode when Omni-Man flies in there, right? Did that blow your fucking mind or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Holy hell! What?
It was like that.
That's cool, man. Hey, man, we'll let you go. I know you're busy. You got a lot of stuff going on. Where can people find your work? Is there a central place? And I'll make sure when we put out the extra video to this, I'll put a link to the website. What do you got going on now?
Yeah, I have my website, and you're gonna have a hard time finding my books in print in stores these days. A lot of the tie-in sections have been cut back. Even my second Angel novel, the show was canceled before my second novel actually came out, and a lot of stores didn't even order it. They feel like once the show's not on the air, no one's going to care about the stories.
Right.
But when people post pictures from Barnes and Nobles around the country, there's always like one copy of Halloween on the shelf.
Yeah.
That's like my foot in the store is like Halloween.
There you go, man.
Everything's an ebook, online. You can get stuff on ebook.
Yeah.
A lot easier to find stuff.
Well, on your website, I did see that you have copies of Halloween that they can get from your website, that you get signed copies, by the way. And we're going to be buying a few of those ourselves, and we're going to be sending them to some of the people that shared the video tonight in the chat. But guys, if
they already own a copy, they can mail them to me, and I'll sign it and send it back.
Hey, wow, there you go.
There you go.
Just supply postage and a return mailer.
Yeah, and I see that's awesome, man. So we'll put a link to your site where you can find all your work, all the stuff that you can still get, the Halloween Kills novel and autographs, or if you have it, you can send them one there. It's the your own website that you do, because you also do web design, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll put a link down there for you guys. Make sure you guys go get that. Support John. John, thank you so much for taking the time tonight, man. It was
amazing.
What are you going to do on October 31st?
What are you going to do on October 31st?
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know know about the darkness?
I said, God damn.
God damn you, Michael!
Ooh, I said, God damn.
A lot of people don't know the darkness that goes inside their hearts.
I said, God damn.
God damn you, Michael! What are you gonna do on October 31st?